of a great win in our third in a row, I gotta ask the question: do we really want to break this up? Let's talk about it right after this. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's your boy P Kid. This is the Chicago Bulls Breeze. We're talking all things Bulls on this channel. Bulls just had a phenomenal game. Everyone is still talking about it. And you know what? It comes in Zach's third game where we are seeing this team click on a different level. Now, not a perfect game. There are some things that we're going to talk about and some lows in the offense that we've seen sporadically, but that happens to every team. But when it comes to the Bulls, we found a way to weather those storms. And again, we're stacking on the wins. So, topic of the day, Zach Lavine. Obviously, everyone's looking at that trade. I've made videos talking about his trade. I for one think that this relationship is at a breaking point. Most people do. However, if the trade value of market isn't there, and trade value, excuse me, then it makes no sense to just take anything for Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine showed you, and again, he's hasn't played in more than a month. Yet his third game back, he gives us this amazing stat line. Hold on, let me pull it. Let me get the stats for you all real quick. Listen, I get it. I get it. We see Coby White coming in again. Coby White was phenomenal. That's still rolling. But the point of this is Coby White gave you 30 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, playing phenomenal at the point guard position. But Zach Lavine himself gave you 25, 7, and 13. They can coexist. This is possible. On top of the fact that we have 3 other people in double digits, this is possible. This is the team we've been looking for. And so while we may have been making jokes about the word continuity when it comes to the Bulls, especially considering the lackluster moves that AK made, especially at the point guard position, look what came of it. Yes, it started off rocky. Zach Lavine gets injured. That step back allows someone to step forward. And when they did, they seem to have been rolling. That person's being Coby White. And he looked phenomenal. A confident Coby White with a confident Zach Lavine can coexist on this roster. DeMar DeRozan didn't have the best game. Now, I'm not going to sit here and roast him. It happens, right? We've seen some of the best have really, really bad games. Not going to sit here and make it seem as if it's above it. But I will say that even with his bad game, even with him not being able to score for a majority of this game, I had to catch it on replay. I did see it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, dang, he's struggling a little bit. Now, I will have to say this, and most people won't give this credit. Ime Udoka put a good defender on him, someone that defended him well. And when that happens, when you have a coach, okay, we've always talked about coaching. We have a smart coach on the other end who knows how to put people in position and knows how to sit there and pretty much scout the other team well. He knows who to put on who. You're going to get moments where it's like, okay, he's going to probably struggle a little bit. It happens to the best of them. Ime Udoka is a great coach. No matter what you say, he's a great coach. He's a good leader of men. This Houston Rockets team looks like an entirely different Houston Rockets team. Sengun looks like a straight stud for some odd reason. You want to know why? As my man Pat the Designer said over there on Locked On Bulls, hey, the guy can hoop. You think you should give him the ball? And they did. But Ime Udoka put them in position to do that. So when you put people in the right position on offense and defense, by the way, so again, it's twofold. You get situations in which you can hold maybe a starter like DeMar DeRozan, and he has a struggle, not necessarily an entirely bad game. He still nearly got 20 points. But again, that's what happens. So I'm not making excuses for DeMar. I'm just saying that this is what happens in basketball. Yet again, the rest of the team rallied around and they were able to pick up some of the slack and some of the things that we were necessarily dependent on. Now, some will sit there and say that Billy Donovan depended too much on some of these players down the stretch when they weren't doing well. Not going to argue that. The one thing I will say is, despite the lulls in offense that you had in this particular game and on this floor right now, again, closing out that fourth quarter, horrible fourth quarter. horrible. I listen. I had a chance, and I watched a little bit of it coming home, but I watched it in its entirety when I got back. And I have to sit there and say, we still have moments. We still have moments. It was like a same old Bulls, same old Bulls. But again, being able to rally back, being able to actually power through, and we got that out of our core group. Again, Alex Caruso coming in, being a dog that he is. Vooch, I forgot to mention Vooch for some odd reason. 18 points, 15 rebounds. You're not looking at Vooch to be a 2020 player all the time. Vooch is who he is. Now, in his role on this particular team, he may not be able to do that. I'm going down this list for a reason. The reason I'm doing this is because most people looked at this roster, I myself included, and said, unless they get it together, unless something shifts, they can't coexist. Well, the shift has happened. It is happening. And you're seeing that they are actually able to coexist and play at a high level if we give them the opportunity. I think just like it happened with Justin Fields in football, Zach Lavine being down for a month, seeing Coby White come into his own, be confident, things of that nature. I think all of that led into this moment where maybe it's worth sticking around. That's why I asked the question, do we really want to break this up? We compound that with another fact. We still have an easy schedule, well, one of the easier schedules compared to some of the individuals who are still in the standings above us. In fact, right now, we are now ninth in the Eastern Conference. Now, I know that's you got to remember, we started off, we put up a dud when we started off, all right? It is what it is. It happened. But when you go and you look, and you really look at the difference between where we are and where some of the other teams are, we are 3 games behind. Excuse me. We are 4 games, behind the Magic. We're 4 games behind the Heat. 4.5 games behind the Cavs. 5 games behind the gap isn't very large, is what I'm saying. Pause. That was a whole moment. Don't judge. Don't judge. Ooh, I know that's gonna be in the comments. Anyway, grow up. But the gap isn't very large. Realistically, the difference between where we are and where we could be is a matter of one team getting hot, us staying consistent, and another team just going through another bad spell. The one thing I will say is in the last 10, we are 6-4. We do have a above 500 record. And again, this is still trending with Zach Lavine coming back 3 in a row and him finding his legs. Most people didn't even expect him to put up a 25-13 game so soon. And the way he's doing it within the flow of the offense, not forcing anything, he's allowing it to come to him. He's taking a leap as a leader that we want to see. At the same time, what's happening right now is we're also seeing DeMar DeRozan in so many respects not be as ball dominant. I don't know if anyone's actually noticing this, but DeMar DeRozan is not the same. It's there. Don't get me wrong. It's still mid-range king. He's still gonna give you the 15 pump fakes, turnaround fade. But the moments in which he was so ball dominant down the stretch, well, they still exist, but not nearly as much, in my opinion, as they existed last season. So with that being the case, there's just more trust in each other on this team so far. And when you really look at it, there's an opportunity for us to continue this. Now, here is the facts. It is long rumored. Zach is trying to get up out of there. I've said it. I've been on both ends of this, by the way. I've said that listen, this seems to be coming down to the wire, meaning that they don't the Bulls and Lavine, they like, hey dog, this ain't gonna work. But at the end of the day, the trade market, you can't give him up for nothing. So it's like, hey, he might be in a Bulls jersey to the end of the season. Trading Zach Lavine while you're in the middle of this again could mean that we take a step back. Mind you, I know what we look like without Zach Lavine. I know what we've gone through and things of that nature. But what I haven't seen is I haven't seen a lot of anyone else step up in the sense of I haven't seen Patrick Williams step up. Again, where is Patrick Williams? I have no idea what's happening with Patrick. We haven't seen Patrick Williams step up, and we've seen other Bulls not necessarily make the leap, but we've been riding the high with Coby White and Demar. And at the end of the day, when you really, really look at it, Demar's window is closing. If I were a betting man, I'm not going to sit there and bet that Demar is going to be more impactful to any particular team down for the next couple years, I wouldn't say that DeMar would be more impactful than Zach Lavine. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't take that bet. But what I would say is he'd be a great second or third option. He'd be a great person that if I really, really need a bucket, he is my guaranteed Chris Middleton, because Chris Middleton could be mid. Like, that's what I would say when it comes to DeMar DeRozan. So with all that being said, this is one of those things you have to consider. You have to consider what the implications and what the cost will be to trade Zach Lavine, the time to gel with those new teammates, because not every team is going to be able to bounce back and have a winning type of situation like the Raptors are having right now. I know we've seen the Raptors, we've seen the Knicks, that trade kind of worked out for them, but that doesn't happen all the time there. And for the Knicks, that kind of was a trade that they didn't necessarily have to make. It kind of didn't make any sense, but they did it. It's working out so far. The Bulls right now are gelling, and they're actually doing exactly what AK said they would do. Is if they bet on continuity, things would kind of work out. So when you put that all together, you consider the fact that you're still in playoff contention. You still have a chance. You are by no means is this season over. By no means are you in a situation where there's no way that you can make a run. We're barely at All-Star break. I mean, it's practically another month for that. We really are at the half point of the season. And the thing is about the NBA as opposed to NFL, it's a very long season. It is 82 games. We haven't made it to 41 yet. So there's a chance that not only can this continue, especially given they're clicking at the right time, our schedule is going to be easier. And I do think that if we can get this same look Chicago Bulls, we can beat most of the teams ahead of us. We've beaten the Bucks, we've beaten Philly without Lavine, without Lavine, if I'm not mistaken, but definitely without. We've handled ourselves with the better teams in the conference. There's a chance here. There's a chance. And I am willing to sit here and ride out the rest of this particular season to see if that works, because I don't believe that you need to make a rash decision right this moment. Now, I know things can fall off a cliff the next couple of games, but that's also true if you trade them. I think the best move for the Bulls is to sit here and stay impact into the end of the season. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear what you all think. I think it's worth giving a shot. Still means that we get to trade Zach Lavine if that's the train that you're on. Still means that nothing changes from that perspective. If you're of the opinion that trading Zach is the best thing for the Chicago Bulls, you're probably the same person that doesn't think that we're going to win a championship this season. So you might as well just wait it out and see what happens. Let him finish the rest of the season. See if he does, again, beat all the narratives, get his trade value up. And then at the end of the season, make a move. Doesn't hurt you either way. But doing it right now before you even find out, you could sit there, take this young team. They take a slight step back. You can have this moment where, yeah, we were probably going to make the playoffs. Now we got to work on continuity with these new people that we brought in. Who are these guys? Like, all of that stuff can happen when you make a trade mid-season. I'm willing to wait it out. I'm excited. I like what they're putting out there. You have to sit there and make that decision. But again, whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the chat. I want to hear from you all. Tell me whether or not Zach Lavine is not going to be able to coexist with Coby White, DeMar DeRozan. Tell me, give it to me straight, because I believe that they can. But I'm not AK. Technically, neither are you. Till next time. Peace.